Hi, welcome to Happy Tales. I'm Cheryl Rosenthal, Communications and Education Coordinator at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society.
And I'm Joni Geiger, Executive Director.
And today, Joni, our show is about adoptions.
Yes.
A lot of people have questions about what our adoption procedure is all about. And sometimes people think, oh my goodness, you know, you have to give them your firstborn practically to adopt an animal. And we'd just like to share with people today that we really have streamlined our adoption process because our ultimate goal is to get the animals out of the shelter and into loving homes. So we want to make that procedure as painless and as efficient as possible.
That is correct.
But we also want to make sure that we're sending people home with the tools that they need to make the transition of that pet into their home as easy and as comfortable for everyone involved. If they have pets at home, if they have children, we kind of look at the whole scope of thing and tailor each adoption to each animal that's going home and tailor it to the home environment that it's going into.
Right. And I think it's important, you know, shelters vary from shelter to shelter and how they do their procedures and so on and so forth. And the truth is that you said it yourself, we've really worked very hard at streamlining our process. We do a lot of matchmaking because we want that to work very well for everybody that lives in the house, and we want everybody to be in harmony. And we also, just like you said, again, want them to have the tools to make it work, to make that transition as easy as possible. So that's where our adoption counselor comes in, and that's how we actually do a sit down with the people that are adopting, and we go through some things, and it's kind of fun and interesting, and people very often learn something new in this process, so
Right.
It's kind of cool.
Right. So a lot of times when people come in, they find a cat, they're just not wandering the building aimlessly. We're talking to them
Sure.
and getting to know them and trying to find the right match for their home. So a lot of information is given out before we
Right.
actually sit down
Right.
to do the adoption procedure. But then once they finally have made that decision that, yes, this is the kitty that is the best match for me and this is the kitty I want to take home, then we sit down and make an appointment for them and go through some additional information.
Sure.
And I don't know about you, but I think sometimes the best way to show people what that is to actually demonstrate it. And I know that we have one of our adoption staff with
do.
us today. And so we're going to bring Brenda on, and we're going to talk about the adoption procedure and how
Right.
it works.
Okay.
Yes, ready. Go get it.
Oh, come on, Randy. Animal shelter, here I come. And no, I'm not crazy or emotionally damaged. That's a stereotype. I just belong to a total loser. I'm a good dog. So if you want a pet, adopt. And if you see Randy, tell him he dropped his wallet.
Welcome back. Here we are with Brenda. Brenda is one of our adoption counselors here at the Oshkosh Area Humane Society, and she's going to share with us today. We're going to kind of do we are going to do a mock adoption to give you some idea what the adoption procedure is all about. The actual papers that people fill out when they come to the shelter are very simple. It's one page on both sides. This side tells us a little about you, where you work, where you live, whether or not you own your own home, other animals that you have in the home, so that this is all about making matches, so we want to make sure that we know what animals you have at home so we can help you make a good match. And then the other side is about what kind of pet are you looking for? Are you looking for a kitty that's going to be a lap cat? Is it going to be a cat specifically for you, or is this going to be a pet for your husband
For the kids.
or for the children? Or maybe you think your existing kitty is lonesome and you're looking for a playmate for that animal. So this helps us find out exactly what kind of animal that you are looking for. And then once you have this filled out and we have made that perfect match, we have another sheet that we fill out which tells about, again, what we find out. We're going to do a vet check
Sure. That's
and
more
we're-
from a
yeah.
bookkeeping.
Yeah, it's
so
it's more.
that's our
yeah.
processing sheet.
Right, it's for processing. So basically what the adopter needs to be concerned about is the adoption profile. And then when somebody does come in and fills out the application, we send them home with, of course, even though you have maybe had cats in the past, we're going to send you home with My Kitty Will Need, so that you know the things that we're going to recommend, so that when you go shopping, you're looking for the proper things that you're going to need for your pet. Also, information on how to keep your cat inside. And then because the shelter offers alternatives to declawing, we have a little article that we ask everyone to read, to take home and to read. And so those are the forms that we use here. So what we're going to do with Brenda is when you make an appointment, and we do all of our adoptions by appointment, it's very important that people understand we want to sit down with our adopters and create a rapport with them. It isn't like, oh, come on in, get an animal, get a pet, get a cat, and we never want to see you again. We're here to work with you. We're a resource center, so we always want to be there for our adopters. And to make sure that they have all the information that they need, we provide them with this really nice booklet that has some basic behavioral information in, including a nice little video that you can watch and learn more about your cat or your kitten that you're adopting. And so what we're going to have Brenda do is we're going to go through an actual adoption. What happens after you've made your appointment and you come in and you have a sit down with one of our adoption counselors. And an adoption takes about how long, Brenda, when you do the whole thing?
Well, it's really dependent on the situation. Are there other cats at home? Are there dogs in the household? Because that's going to be a lot more that we'll need to cover. Some adoptions where this is simply a kitty that is going to be an only cat at the home. Certainly it could be as little as a half hour depending on how much we've gotten to work with the adopter prior to the application being filled out.
So if you've gotten a lot of information from the adopter prior to the sit-down, you may not need to go into such detail at the time of the actual adoption then.
Correct.
I think it's important to note too that for purposes here, we're doing a mock adoption, but we're kind of skipping a couple of steps as far as like the contract and the medical and so on and so forth, just to expedite and get some
We're going to
time here.
concentrate more or
Sure.
less on the
More on
behavioral information
Right, exactly.
that we want to make sure that we can cover. And I can see that we're going to have expert help with that today, which is good. So
They're excellent assistants.
Right. So let's-
Usually it's 45 minutes. From the time you enter, we will go and sit down. We're going to, of course, do the contract, go over the medical so our adopter knows, what this animal may need immediately. Maybe the kitty isn't complete on distemper if it's a kitten. So we'll try to help them to understand what they're looking at immediately. And then, of course, we go through some of our other handouts in the folder, and then we'll start the behavioral. And then, of course, we'll do the checkout if there's any purchases, scratching posts, toys.
I am going to make a comment or interject here at the time, and this is, obviously you're going to go on with this, but I think it's really important to remember that we are a tremendous resource, but people are getting a really good bang for their buck here, literally. Our adoption fees have been waived for cats, and so, but they're feline leukemia tested, they've got a distemper vaccination, they've been wormed, spayed and neutered. They're very often, they're going to get a free exam with their own veterinarian. So these are some really phenomenal, as I said, bang for your buck. And then to sit down and go through behavioral as well. I think it's just really, something that for a Humane Society we offer a tremendous service for people.
Those are a lot of services
That's
that
true.
normally you would be paying big dollars for.
Yeah, exactly.
And
So-
this is something that we do because our ultimate goal is to find these animals good homes.
Sure.
And not keep them in the shelter
Right.
for
So-
long term. So
Well, that being said, Brenda, let's kind of just pretend here that Cheryl and I are here, and I think the scenario that we talked about is that we have another cat at home,
right.
and let's say we've got a 2-year-old male at home, and we're kind of thinking we'd like to get a little buddy for him. So you've obviously matched us up with somebody that you feel is appropriate. So I guess we'll go from there.
Right. So what would you tell us about what we have to do when we get our kitty home?
Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is make sure that you're aware that we are a resource, that our phone number is everywhere through the book. I'm going to make sure that you know that we are available, we want to help. I oftentimes will remind them if it's something their other kitty is doing, regardless of whether that cat came from here or somewhere else, we want to be able to help to make the new kitty and that existing kitty's relationship go as well as possible. So if there's anything that we can do, I make sure that they are aware of that from the door. I show them where our phone number is everywhere through the book. If I had not personally worked with them and helped them choose their new kitty, I will ask if they had considered setting up a safe room for their cat. Because first impressions are so important with cats, and the new kitty that is coming home is losing what it knows as its territory. I'll assume it's a he that we're going to match up for the 2-year-old for a buddy, and it's really, really frightening, and that definitely isn't the day that necessarily we want to consider having them meet each other. So the first thing I'm going to, ask is if you've considered a safe room, do you have one set up? And I'm also going to make sure that it's going to be an appropriate safe room that won't be a complete upheaval for the existing kitty.
Okay. So Joni and I have decided that we thought the new kitty should go in one of our bedrooms. Is that what do you think of that?
Well, I just would kind of want to know where the resident kitty, what room does that kitty, seem to more consider his own? Obviously, a lot of people are going to let their cats or, other pets have free access to all of the rooms, but there's got to be one that, maybe if you think about it, you would realize, it wouldn't turn that cat's world upside down to not be able to go into it for a couple of days, 5 days, depending on how
So
the
in other
new
words,
kitty is.
not his favorite place in
Exactly.
the house. His
Right.
favorite
So
window.
if the cat, our current cat, spends more time in Joni's room, we need to look at a different room
Sure.
to use as a safe place.
Sure.
So okay.
Okay, so and then usually what I'll do is I will go through the book page by page with my adopter and kind of let them know this is what's here. I'm going to give you, the basic scenarios, but there is obviously a lot of information in this booklet. And so I do mention to them that they can get the new kitty home, get the kitty comfortable and situated, and certainly that's an awesome time for them to look through the booklet and thoroughly read through the book and get further information before they start getting the cat acclimated to the home and starting to introduce to the other cat at home already. So what I'll usually do is go through our book, and the first page in our book does talk about why we recommend a safe room. It really is stressful for the cat to get taken from here and changed and taken to a new territory. Lots of different smells, lots of different sounds, and because cats are so scent oriented, you don't have to let the cat see each other. They're both going to know the other one is there very quickly. So one thing that I will try to do with my adopters is to immediately, although the introduction page is farther into the book, I try to incorporate all of it through the safe room and on. So I will mention to them things that they can do while the new kitty is in their safe room that could also help during the introduction process to the other cat at home, such as things that you can scent swap and wipe the kitties down and introduce the scents to each other. So I'll be talking about why we feel that it's important for them to isolate and give the new kitty time to settle down, but I know a lot of people are eager to have the new kitties meet each other and meet their new friends, and a lot of people do feel that maybe it's mean to put the kitty in a safe room. And so I'll try to let them know that there are things that they can be doing to help both of their cats adjust to the changes.
Right.
So I'll be starting to talk about those things as well. The scent swapping of cloths or bedding, feeding on opposite sides of the doors, high value treats, canned food. I'll kind of ask them what their existing kitty likes. Do they like a little bit of canned food each day? And based on the kitty that they're adopting, I can give them ideas of things that they can do right at the door during the isolation process. I also will remind them that the safe room is another thing that will help to reinforce the positive box habits of the kitty that they're adopting. When you put a new kitty into a new territory, if you have them in a smaller, more restricted area, they're going to be more apt to feel more comfortable to go and use their box. It's not going to be as overwhelming for them. And so I will make sure that they're aware of all of the reasons why a safe room is conducive for the new kitty, and it's going to help them as pet owners.
So it reinforces the litter box,
Exactly.
using the litter box by having having that short span of time in a safe room.
Correct. And then also, if it is somebody that is adopting a cat that has their claws, of course, we would have talked to them about the alternatives, such as nail caps, but I will let them know that, starting them in their safe room also with the scratching post, which is another page farther in the book, can also help them with the scratching post training, since, of course, we know that it's partially a scent marking behavior as well. So a lot of the things about the safe room, I'll be incorporating some of the behavioral things farther down in the book, and then when we get to those pages, I'll reiterate that information to them.
So what about litter box? How do we, I'm adding a cat to already a one cat home. So what do you encourage people to do regarding litter box?
Well, there is a golden rule for litter boxes. If you have a cat, it is usually recommended that you use one litter box per cat plus one. There are some kitties that like to urinate in one box and defecate in another. And certainly when you add a kitty, then you may want to consider going up to 3. Because if you have a kitty that likes to urinate in one, defecate in another, and may not want to share a box with another kitty, that is going to help immensely to prevent litter box issues. And a big thing also is to try to keep them staggered. Even if you want to have them in the same room, not necessarily keeping them together, which would to the kitties seem like one big litter box. So that is definitely something I would be talking about with my adopters. And then also, maybe if you're starting a kitty in your bedroom, that may not be where you're going to ultimately want to keep that litter box. So I'll also be talking about ways to, move the litter box slowly to the location that you want to keep it, so that it doesn't, turn that kitty's world upside down. Like, where did that go?
Right, so you're not putting a box down and then taking it away.
Exactly. It's going to be small little baby steps, moving it a little bit each day to the location that you ultimately are hoping to keep it. A lot of people, I'm sure that you've spoken with people that have litter box issues, and one of the things is we just moved the box and the kitty's going on the floor where the box was. So we definitely don't want to do anything too quickly. Even for a kitty, they're so stoic, and for kitties that seem like, wow, I've been here forever, they're still dealing with a lot. And so it's certainly not a bad idea to err on the side of caution and give it extra days, and not throw too much at the new kitty too quickly. Sure. And so certainly when you're doing, working on introducing and things like that, that definitely would not necessarily be a time that it, may be encouraged to start moving the box as well, right. One step at a time. So really the big thing is I'm going to talk about the safe room first. We're really going to want that kitty to feel as safe and comfortable as possible. And then that actually in our booklet as I go through, because some people are more visual, everybody's going to learn differently. Everybody's going to take the information that we're giving differently. And also it's a matter of, I'll be trying to talk with them and ask them questions, especially if I didn't work with them. Right. When we were working with you, did we recommend using a safe room? Because I really might have to start right from, the very beginning of why we recommend it, or if I had worked with them or, somebody else had already gone over that when they were working with the matchmaking end of it, then it really may just be, asking what they decided to use for a safe room.
Kind of a review of what they've decided to do. So
oh, no, go ahead.
when it comes to litter boxes, if somebody says that they're, I have 2 really big boxes, or get into scooping and all of those different things too then, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Right after the safe room page, we go right into ways to prevent litter box issues, solutions to litter box issues, and again, I interject that our phone number's on almost every page in that book to really drive home the fact that we are here. As you said, we're not just sending them out the door and
So
wishing
even
them
if,
well.
even if they've only had their new kitty for a day or two, and let's say day 3, I decide to let Kitty out of the room, and Kitty runs right to the couch and starts scratching on it, and I can't remember what you told me to do, people can call and get that information
Absolutely.
as to what to do.
I've also had people call within a half hour of getting home because it is a lot of information to take in. And as much as they try, when they get home, they may remember something that they meant to ask. So I've had people call within an
And
hour.
I think it's important to remember that people are excited about getting their new pet.
Right,
So obviously
right.
you're not necessarily retaining everything that you're going through. So
Well, and that's one of the reasons why we have the booklet
Sure.
and we have our phone number
Right,
plastered all over,
exactly.
because we understand.
Yeah.
But again, our primary goal is to make sure to ease that introduction into the home.
because of time constraints, why don't we move on to
Okay.
what maybe would be the next step that you would share with people?
Sure. Well, after I go over, preventing litter box issues, asking about numbers of boxes, the amount of scooping, whether they're open or not, there's a lot of things that we would be talking about with that if it hadn't been talked about prior to the adoption appointment. We would pretty much be going over scratching post training. And also, we would have to cover the introduction to the resident cat as well. So ideally, when I'm going to talk to them about having a scratching post in the safe room, I just naturally would probably address that first, because hopefully they're going to keep the new kitty in the safe room for enough time for both cats to be adjusting. But while that kitty is in the safe room, we could be working on scratching post training. So in my mind, it just seems, more logical to address that first, and then we can work on the introduction to the resident cat. So I will be addressing to them positive things that they can do to encourage their kitty to use their scratching post. I try to be sure to let them know that they are cats. It has to be their idea. So really the big thing that you may not want to do is to put the kitty's feet on the scratching post. There are a lot of things, depending on each cat, that would go home that may be more effective for that cat. Kitties that we know love the laser light, we can let them know it can be a plaything and that it's really a positive reinforcement and redirecting once they are out in the home.
So you can run the laser light right up
Oh,
the
Up the
absolutely.
scratching post,
Yeah,
play
okay.
around that, encourage play around that.
A big thing that I also do, especially when there is a resident cat, is to, one of the things that we mentioned could be helpful with the scratching post training is to use catnip or catnip spray. But I feel that may not be the best option when you're also considering doing an introduction to another cat.
Yeah,
Because it gets
absolutely.
gets
Kind of
them
excited,
overstimulated.
Exactly. So I will make sure to say this is on here as a recommendation, but I may not use that as one of my first choices when you're also introducing, very soon to a new kitty or to a kitty at the home. So I will let them know the things that they can do, and a lot of it is getting that kitty's feet on the post and rewarding that behavior with a treat. Because there may not be a lot of things, depending on what you're using as a safe room, that would be attractive to your new cat to scratch on. It may be more when they're out in the rest of the home that you may have to start the redirecting. And that
And then gradually moving that scratching post to where they may want to scratch out in the rest of the home.
Sure. And also, we are going to give a lot of information in the handouts about deterrence as well. So we'll talk to them about that. And the big thing is also to make sure that we're going to do a good introduction. So I'm going to give them tips on what they can do while new kitty is in their safe room, but then I'm going to talk to them about swapping the kitties and letting the new cat come out while the resident kitty is checking out your new cat's safe room, and giving the new kitty time to come out without having to be face to face with the resident cat. So that's going to be another step before there is actually a face to face contact between the kitties. And then I'll also talk to them about what they can be doing the day that they do the introduction, and steps to take if it doesn't seem to be going as well as they would like. And then again, I reiterate that if they have any questions about the kitties behaviorally, or if they seem unsure about what would be play and what would be aggression, we have wonderful handouts that we can also give to them to take home that are above what we have in the book.
So it's a process. It's not like it's going to happen in 24 hours. People have to allow it. And I think you said it yourself, you got to let the kitties make their choice. So obviously they're going to really kind of make up their mind where their comfort level is. And then obviously what I would, so so things are not perfect yet. I would continue to keep my new kitty in the safe room while I went to work.
Oh, absolutely. Only when somebody is home and can monitor. Because it's going to take every cat their own amount of time to get used to either the new cat or vice versa.
Well, and that eliminates a lot of times the adopter coming home to any unexpected surprises. So utilizing that safe room can, the introduction may be slower, but sometimes if you have a negative reaction, it can set that introduction
Well,
back.
Brenda, you gave us a lot of information today. And I think it shows how much we put into this effort, this adoption process, and how important it is for us to, make this work for people, and because we want it to be a forever home. And so obviously giving them that information helps.
Right. So we really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today, and hopefully this has been helpful to our viewers.
And I think, this is this is the end result. Obviously, it's just that
A very content kitty.
Yes, and hopefully, they'll go home and they'll be very, very happy with their choices, and it'll be a forever home. So.
Right. Well, Joni, I hope everybody enjoyed our show today and learned a lot about the adoption process and how really simple it is and how much we really care about the animals that we're placing into homes, and that our primary goal is to find homes for little sweethearts like these guys and to make that transition into their new home as easy as we can, not only for the kittens and cats that we want to adopt, but for the pets that are already in homes and for those that are coming in and adopting our animals.
Absolutely.
That's really the goal.
And this is why we do it. I mean, this is right here, not just kittens, but all cats, all kittens, all dogs. This is why we do it. This is why we're here. This is why we care so much. We just really want to find forever homes for these guys.
Right. And it's really through no fault of their own that these animals end up here at the shelter. And so we're just asking the community to please, if you have room in your heart and your home, please come into the Humane Society and adopt your next pet. These animals deserve to have a loving forever home.
Absolutely.
So until next time, happy tales to you.